Shortening the history of human nutrition. I would like to tell you how the human diet has evolved. The development is actually 5 stages, which are 5 revolutions, each of which is characterized by a significant change in our diet and the ways of gaining food. So do not forget to subscribe this channel and comment to this special one. We are starting right away. From here, we move to the discovery of America, and with it the Industrial Revolution and the Sugar Revolution. The central nutritional process that occurred following the discovery of America during the 15th century and the subsequent activity in the colonies of the European powers was the transition of the European population and later the entire world from a full grain diet in a gradual process to a processed sugar-based diet. This process not only had a nutritional effect, but also a huge social and economic downturn of the whole world as we know it today. The origin of the sugarcane is unclear, but it was cultivated thousands of years ago, and it seems to come from New Guinea to the region of China and India. And until then, the sweet syrup and refined sugar produced mainly from grape honey. In the Middle East, the Ceylon and the American mainland produced maple syrup extracted from maple trees. The consumption of sweeteners would have been limited mainly due to the resources and time needed to prepare them. After cultivation, sugarcane began to spread gradually around the world. At first, the wild growth went from producing sweet liquid like honey to the Persian Empire, then to the Arab Empire and the Middle East. But over time, the price was very high. In the 10th century in Jerusalem, for example, it was possible to buy 1 kilogram of sugar at the price of 100 kilograms of apples. Its high price, like many other food products, stemmed from the way the food economy was operating, which was very different from the way it is today. Throughout history, each region has been raising its basic needs and has been a trader of its own unique and exclusive products. Trading in this food was not because it was cheap, but because it was very expensive. For example, the northern city of Tzipori in the Galil has grown its basic food products: wheat, lentils, chickpeas, fruit orchards, animals and more, plus trading its unique food product, olive oil. The nearby city of Safad trade its well-known Safad cheese. The city next to it trade its figs, and so on. In the same way that expensive spices came from the east, so did the sugar from different places because of its prestige. As we have described, sugar was the food of the rich who could afford luxury products. The process of changing sugar consumption patterns took place in the UK and elsewhere from the 12th century to the 16th century, to the height of the process in the 19th century. Then sugar have become from a spice to consumer product. Three processes created the conditions for this sugar consumption in the 18th and the 19th centuries. The first was Europe's accelerated urbanization process. There, masses moved to urban areas and many workshops were set up in cities to provide jobs for the new residents. The second is the development of Europe's colonial achievements, most notably the discovery of America. So the European powers ruled more and more territories around the world. The third was the evolving control of the equity holders in society, economics, and politics. The owners of the capital, who also owned the factories, were looking for a way to provide Europe's poor workers with easy-to-prepare food that will provide available and affordable energy. The sugar was very suitable for the task. It was easy to prepare, just pour water on it and it melted. And it also provided energy available to the workers to work better. The problem was that it was expensive. The idea that evolved to make sugar cheaper was its growth by slaves, a solution that greatly reduced production processes. Capital owners who controlled the production in the various colonies began to grow and produce sugar by using local slaves and sell the sugar cheaply to the European workers. But that was not enough, did not constitute a large enough labor force. Whatever, the local slave population has been shrinking, for the conditions of slavery and the new diseases brought by the Westerns led to premature morbidity and death. Africa was colonized, but the African climate did not match to the growth of sugar. Therefore, the capitalists decided to export the African workforce to America. From the end of the 15th century to the end of the 19th century, more than 12 million slaves were transferred from Africa to America. The proliferation of sugar in the 70s led to a sharp increase for an additional workforce. Between the years 1700 and 1800, about 70% of the slaves were transferred to the British Isles. And if, by 1750, the major sugar consumers were the rich, then about a century later, the main sugar consumers are the poor. And in 1857, sugar consumption in the United Kingdom was 100 times greater than it was a century before. Thus, sugar has become the symbol of the dominant method of economics and commerce. Capitalism, a method in which slaves on one side of the world feed laborers on another side of the world. The method has been so successful that it still dominates our economy and the food economy in particular. It is worth noting three other crops that came with the sugar into the New World: cocoa, coffee, and tea. What they have in common is that these are colonial foods which need to be utilized to supply them in quantities and become a consumer product just like the sugar. In their places of origin, they were consumed as a ceremonial foods, and the main change in their consumption was adding sugar before eating them. White sugar joined the technology in the mid-19th century, and with it the capable of breaking down the wheat kernel and producing white flour or white rice, which is mostly starch, making them identify processed sugar. The transition to a diet based on processed sugar and utilization is complete. So do not forget to subscribe this channel and get the best food history videos on your main screen. Thanks for watching, see ya on the next.